back. That's what odd.
Maybe, or something. It just sounds like a lot of room noise.
Yeah.
Um,
Does sound like a lot.
yeah, there's a bit of room noise. Hang on, I think I know what the problem is. Let's see.
Hello, Architect. Good to see
no.
you. Okay.
There's a lot of room noise,
Yeah, that's
and
okay.
I am on a equalizer, compressor, gate, and a few other things.
Hello, Mr. Architect. Good to see you, sir. In the chat room, we also have the Discord going over at discord.me/Jupiter Colony. And then you can join the Linux Unplugged room. See, Frick Labs is in there. Frick.
Yeah, I've been playing around with Jack lately, so...
Oh, yeah. Jack's a lot of fun, huh?
Yeah, and I'm running it through the CAF plugins, you know, the CAF Studio Gear. Works pretty well. It's like a poor man's Waves.
Yeah, you got, like, you can make a Linux box like a full-on little production studio with Jack and a few plugins and a few, you get the right recording software, and, like, the whole thing is like a production studio in a box.
Exactly. That's kind of what I'm shooting for.
Black Friday deals have started, Chris.
Oh, yeah, what are you seeing?
Nothing yet. Nothing good, anyway.
I heard that there's a few things, if you put on a wish list, you'll get a discount on Amazon right now. I should have grabbed my water. Why did I... What is my problem?
Amazon has a Black Friday deals landing page.
Oh, of course they do. It's big business for them. I haven't heard much about Cyber Monday this year.
Well, that's just because they're doing a Black Friday deals week.
So is Cyber Monday out? Because we don't need it anymore? Because everybody just buys everything online?
I guess it just ends in Cyber Monday because they started on Tuesday, so it's going to end next Monday.
I tell you what. You know what we got to do? Got to get in.
What do we gotta do?
We got to get the word out. We got to get more folks in the Mumble Room. Turnout is low.
I suggest Twitter.
Let's go to the Twitters. You know what? Let's do it. Wabba-da-bop-bop. You know what I'm saying? I wonder if people... Do you think people would prefer I tweet out the YouTube link or the JB Live TV page link? I'm thinking maybe the YouTube link. You know what I'm saying? You think I'm crazy?
Do you get monetization from the YouTube link?
No, but I think it tends to work for a wider range of folks. Of course, some people have YouTube blocked. So.
Well, you know, we have 280 characters now. You can just do both.
Yeah, every time my furnace kicks on, it's just like Fuzz City in the background.
I'm doing the tweet now. Going out. Big community news. What else? What else we doing today? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. Oh, yeah.
We're doing that thing with the thing.
Mm-hmm. There we go. I feel like that was teasy enough. You know? So give them like, hey, come join us. Mumble Room.
Yeah, it's kind of lonely in here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We'll see if that tweet has any effect. But yeah, if you're listening live and want to join us, we encourage you. You can go to mumble.jupitercolony.com to get the instructions on how to do that.
Thing is, I'm not seeing anybody who can do audio checks right now.
Look at Torn tweets in. Look at that. That's awesome. Mr. Mux is here. Hello, Bitmux. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello, hello.
Good to see you. Let's see here. Let's turn off these notifications. Where do I do that? Because, you know, the thing about Ubuntu's Ubuntu's notifications are just the worst. They just sit there and hog screen space, and you can do nothing. You can do nothing. Let's see. Show context menu. No. Hide. No. None of that. So none of the stuff in user interface is where you go. Okay, check.
It's in messages, so
Sure,
it's in the mobile
sure.
configuration.
Oh, and I have
Click
to
on
go off
messages.
and turn it off for each individual single. So how many are there
Yeah,
in
it
this
sucks.
list, do you think? Let's see. Let's just count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 areas I had to click instead of just one checkbox that says use system notifications. That's all it is in Discord. It's, do you want to use system notifications? Yes or no? That's it. That's all I'm asking for there.
Just a blanket setting, right?
Yeah, you know, because the thing is that's also, so then if you also want to turn off text to speech or a sound file, that's a whole nother separate line of checkboxes here. So
There is a
So you-
blanket for text to speech in the configure menu.
oh, that's nice. That's nice. I'm just showing the
It's the only one.
light. So these are all the notification options. This has to be really right here. This should be a screenshot as an example of open source config screens and how we blow usability. And this is what it looks like after I've gone through and turned off a bunch of crap, because most of these were checked before I came in here. And all of them involve spam, noise files, text to speech, on-screen notifications that do nothing in Ubuntu. You got to turn all that off. And it could have, all of this could be a single checkbox or just a D&D mode. And that's it. That's all it would take. All right, I've said my piece. But geez, that seems like the poster child of usability design gone wrong.
Just seems like somebody didn't think it through.
You'd rather do Discord. Well, Tor, I mean, yeah, that could be a thing we do. Hey, why not do Discord? I guess people want Discord. If Mumble is low, why not use Discord?
I can jump in
They have a
Discord.
point.
Yeah, I suppose so. I just feel like we'd have to make it clear when we're gonna do that. And then again, if nobody shows up, nobody shows up. And so what do we do? Yeah, maybe. I mean, Discord seemed to work pretty good, especially if we don't have anybody here to do staging. We might as well just use Discord once people get approved once, because some people have been on many times, but I still have to drag them in from staging.
No, that's because their certs expired, Chris.
Oh, is that what it is?
Probably.
I just thought some people were never given put on a list of allowed or something, so they just always have to be approved or something.
No, I'm assuming it's the certs.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Only reason I'm allowed in is because Michael approved it.
So there is a process to approve somebody. Once they're approved, they can get into On Air. But if we don't have anybody
but
here,
I don't know if it sticks for most people.
oh, I think it does if it's that's what Beard's saying. As long as your cert doesn't change, it'll stick.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Well, the other thing I like a little bit more about Mumble is the stacked room, so you can have quiet listening. And in theory, it is nice to have staging because if we had a full turnout, you could have somebody kick up to staging and they could get something worked out and they can get kicked back down pretty easily. Like just the workflow of that's pretty good. Hello,
And then there's
Dan.
people like Dan who just jump in
Boom. Hello, Dan. Good to see you.
when they sign on.
What's up, dog?
I was just reading about Elementary OS.
Oh yeah, what were you reading about?
Well, actually, it's one of those R Linux threads.
I heard those guys hate freedom.
Well, it's apparently they all hate Ubuntu is what it is. They just hate Ubuntu, and so
Are you reading that? Why don't you
Yeah,
like elementary if you like
yeah,
GNOME thread
yeah.
or whatever?
yeah, that's what I was reading.
It's because it's a Mac clone, but then it's also a bad Mac clone
right, right,
because it doesn't do anything that Mac OS does.
Right,
So
yeah.
that's why it's bad.
yeah, and then of course the same argument goes that resources are being wasted to build something unique that should just be used to go upstream. Like so they like to have it both ways. That's the funny thing.
Why can't you be more different while doing everything the same?
yeah, do everything completely different, but don't waste any resources making things different.
Yeah.
Cognitive
Also,
difference.
building on
Cognitive dissonance is great, isn't it?
Yeah, also package it for Arch. Yeah, that is the other. that is very much it right there in a nutshell.
Yep.
It goes, it's difficult because you read through that and you want it to be a better conversation, but you really can't expect anything else because it's geeks, and
Yeah.
to them Ubuntu's the, I'm one of those people even said it. I'm beyond Ubuntu now or something like that, as if that's the thing, because they're so advanced that they've grown beyond the Ubuntu. I don't know. It's just it's like a status thing for them.
Exactly. There's definitely a weird kind of geek culture thing there where it's like, I like that it's hard to do things.
Yeah. There is actually there are a group of people that really feel that way. I'm much more of a let technology make life easier so I can focus more on life kind of
Heck
person.
yes. Heck yes.
And make time for video games sometimes.
Yeah, in my pursuit of trying to get the technology out of the way, I now spend all of my working hours making the technology get out of the way.
Yeah, right. I know. Oh, there is some truth to that. We were just once again, we were up here just troubleshooting a few technical issues before the show starts. I was like, oh gosh, it's just always something. There's always something because we're working in technology.
Yep.
Can understand
Tell
why.
me about it. Every time I'd show up to work, something else is broken.
Yeah.
Had a lighting control computer decide to go belly up last week.
Oh, somebody just submitted a new weather app to the App Center.
Oh yeah.
And it's pretty neat too. It's got all these little day forecasts and stuff.
Boom.
Drop that in the Discord.
Yeah, do that. I want to take a look skis. So Desponi, how do you Despasoni
Desposny.
Despasny? Oh, okay. Well, hello. Nice to have you.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Yeah, approving apps in real time. There was an article I was considering putting in the show. Wes found it, and it's all about comparing different. I'll just go find it real quick. It's actually probably we're talking about in the pre-show, possibly. Look at
Is
that.
it just me or does the web Discord client thing perform like dog shit?
Yes.
It is just slow.
Maybe. I don't really have a lot of other experience with the. Why is my capture all funky? I tell you what. Anyways, yeah, that's a nice. I actually like that.
Yeah, it's kind of cute, right?
Nice and simple. Does the job. Forecast for the next 5 days, 18 hours. I do like that a lot, actually. I like you still get the actual nice nitty gritty weather details if you want it. This song is funny.
So, Chris, have you played Stardew Valley?
I don't know. I may have played it really briefly. I own it, I think.
I'm physically incapable of stopping playing Stardew Valley right now.
Really? Oh, wait, no,
Yeah.
is this? No, wait, Stardew Valley. Oh, I thought you said Star Valley. Stardew Valley, I have not played.
Okay.
Oh, boy. Oh, maybe I have, actually. I'm looking at it. Jeez, I think I actually played it for a short period of time. Really? So this is very much like, isn't it? Oh, no, I have not played this. Nope, I'm looking at it. It looks a lot like another game I've got. Jeez, these games kind of all look alike.
Yeah. It's kind of like
Harvest Moon.
yeah, Harvest Moon /
Cool.
Minecraft / Animal Crossing.
Oh, are you playing it on the Switch?
I am.
Oh, interesting. Dang it, that's making me want to Switch.
Dude, the Switch is excellent.
Yeah.
You got to get one.
I do. Well, it's sort of like, I would feel bad because the slam dunk would be if I could work it into Christmas with the kids. That would be the slam dunk, but I don't think they're quite old enough to appreciate it. So that's
No Mario Kart.
Well, maybe Mario Kart, but we have a 2DS for that right now. But yeah, I'm leaning towards due. Actually, it just might be after Christmas. Oh yeah, I was gonna find a link. So Wes says he's gonna be here after the start. Well, that's gonna make the Gen 2 challenge even more interesting. because it's going to be kind of hard to start the Gen 2 challenge if he's not here to start it. Damn it.
Maybe we should punt Gen 2 for a week.
I mean, I'm all set up though, dude.
Oh,
Well,
man.
I can't believe I can't even. I mean, that would be that. People are going to think we're joking.
In theory, if you're all set up now, then you're all set up next week.
Yeah,
Just
I
be
know.
a running joke.
I know, but see, I really wanted to just get it over with. I just wanted to. Well, I mean, at least get it started, actually. And I'm almost tempted if we should start the show and just plan to do the Gen 2 challenge and just hope that Wes is going to make it in time to actually start the Gen 2 challenge before the show's over. I mean, that seems to be the way to go, because otherwise people are going to think we're joking around here with this thing. Which we kind of are.
Jeez.
So yeah, Wes found this article about desktop compositing latency. It's real and it annoys me, says the headline. So the guy measures latency input on Windows 7 and Windows 10, Windows 7 without DWM, and then talks with some people. Pavel Fatin, which has also written about this before. He summarizes the difference between a stacking and a compositing window manager as follows. Stacking window managers orchestrate drawing of overlapped windows in such a way that the background windows are painted first. While this approach has some drawbacks, window content has to be restored explicitly, it introduces no additional delays because applications draw directly in the frame buffer. Examples of stacking window managers are the classic theme in Windows and OpenBox in Linux. Compositing window managers substitute the frame buffer with a dedicated off-screen buffer for each window, and then display all of the windows together when and how they see fit. This separation is inevitable and leads to some latency increase. Examples of compositing managers are Arrow in Windows and Compiz in Linux. The thing with compositing window managers is they seem to also enforce vertical synchronization, VSync. This means we need to wait until a picture is displayed on the screen before we can start drawing the next one. This causes some latency. How much? Well, according to Phaeton, we might expect an additional delay before the frame buffer update when vertical sync is turned on. A maximum delay is 17 milliseconds. An average one is around 8 milliseconds for a 60 Hz refresh rate. 8 milliseconds is on average, which isn't too bad, but actually the average seems to be 2 times that, roughly 17 milliseconds, and the minimum latency is actually 8 milliseconds. I don't know if that the 8 milliseconds is the processing latency of the compositor or bias in my frame capture method. Even with VSync enabled, the minimum should be close to 0 because sometimes we simply get lucky and happen to send key presses before the picture is sent to the display. Anyway, the point is there's a measurable difference in key input latency between Windows 10 and Windows 7 with no DWM. The difference is small but noticeable and affects every user of Windows 10. In general, UI input latency is a known problem and a reason why, e.g., your mouse cursor uses a special rendering path under Windows. So they've measured composited desktops versus non-compositive desktops, and they've seen an explicit difference in performance. And for some reason, I need to go turn off another setting in Mumble, because even though I went through all those stupid checkboxes, there's still something on, so I'm still getting noises in Mumble, which is as if I didn't check enough boxes before the show started. Where did you find those, Eric? Where do I go to? Is it messages? Yeah, messages.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have no sound. I have no sound turned on, and I have no notifications turned on, and yet I still got a sound and a notification when somebody put a message in the Mumble Room chat that I don't read. So I've got none of that turned on. You can see it right here. I've got no notification turned on, and I've got no sound file checkbox checked. But yet, we all heard the notification come up, and I saw the on-screen notification, the Unity notification, when I got the message. So there's nothing I can do?
Got to use a desktop environment that controls it at the service level.
So the only thing I could do, right, well, then I couldn't even mute Mumble in, like, Pulse Audio because then it would mute you guys. So there's really So I've turned everything off, like all the sound settings in Mumble, but yet I'm still going to get sound notifications in the show, apparently. I wonder what I can do about that.
Probably kill Notify OSD, right? Unless that's part of Unity 7
Well,
now. I don't know how that works.
I don't, the on-screen notification isn't the worst part. It's the sound file that Mumble's kicking off, because it's not like a Unity sound. It's like it's a Mumble new message sound. But I went through and I turned off all this stuff.
Are you sure that sound was from us and not somebody else's or Mumble?
No, but it did correspond at the same time the on-screen.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I don't know. Somebody else put a message in the. Somebody type a message in the Mumble chat real quick, like in the on-air one.
I'll do it.
Thank you.
Oh wait, Eric didn't.
Okay, well that time I didn't get an on-screen notification. Well, that's weird. Why did I get one for the last one? What's going on, Mumble? So I'm just going to randomly get them, I guess?
Maybe because it was the inactive window?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, okay. All right, will you try again? Okay, now Mumble is the inactive window. It's an inactive window now. You do it?
Yeah, it just did.
I got nothing. What kind of sense does that make, dude? That is the craziest thing. Well, I guess we'll start, and we'll just see what happens with Wes. Yeah? Why do I hear a lot of fan noise in the background? You hearing that?
No.
When I talk, I'm getting a lot of fan noise. Like we don't have any fans on, though. Well, probably just ghosts. Okay. Here we go. Everybody in the chats and in the Mumbles, actually not the Mumbles, everybody in the chats and in the Discords, please bang suggest the shit out of this show. Give us a nice, good title. And it could have been a Discord sound. Yeah, I suppose it could have been, but it was a message I got in Mumble. So explain that one. Huh? How to explain that one? I can't explain that. Can you explain that? I can't explain that. Right? I have streamer mode turned on. So doesn't that turn off notifications? I do know.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I have disabled sounds turned on. Yeah, that didn't ding me. Yeah, that did not ding. That is weird. Somebody snuck in here and made a noise. That's what I think happened. Somebody was standing outside the studio. That's what it is. All right. Buckle up. Bang suggest as we go. Everybody quit swearing. Let's get started. It's the Unplugged Show. And it begins right now in 3. In a 2. This is Linux Unplugged, episode 224 for November 21st, 2017. Oh, welcome to Linux Unplugged, your weekly Linux talk show that's busting out all the classics this week. My name is Chris. No Wes, but we do have a Beard. Hello, Beard!
Hey, Chris, how's it going?
Thank you, Wes. Thank you for being here. Wes should be here soon, though, so it won't be all on you. You won't have to, keep me calm and sane and rational all on your own.
That's a hard.
Keep me contained, I know.
Hard task.
You gotta, because I'm a ball of energy. You just gotta keep me contained. We have a real classic episode for you this week. We're gonna start with some community news that's actually breaking today as we go on the air. Tuesday seems to be a good day for that lately. After we get through a few important stories, I'll just put it that way, including one that we're gonna have to anyways, I can't believe it. We also have not one, but two. That's right, two, everybody. 2 app picks this week. Looking really good. One for video, one for audio. So we're going to have all the bases covered. And then I'm going to reach back into the old toolbox, my tackle box, from when I was doing penetration testing and Linux security auditing. And we're going to talk about how you can easily audit your Linux box using a tool that will give you reproducible reports, tell you about vulnerabilities and best practices that you could be implementing on your system. It does an extensive security overview and then writes it all up and tells you what you got to fix. And then, if time allows, and I sincerely mean this, if time allows, and it's really all up in the air because Wes isn't here yet, but we are going to attempt to kick off the Gentoo Challenge. We got a great idea. We're really looking forward to how we're going to do it. You know, we've been meaning to do it for a couple of episodes now, and today was the day. Legitimately, even if you're watching the video version, have a screenshot right there, ready to go, of the system we'll be loading Gentoo with. But our driver isn't here yet. He, I don't know what Wes was on assignment. That's what they say, right? That's what you're supposed to say? He's on assignment.
Maybe he's just chickening out.
Yeah. Maybe he got stuck building Gentoo.
Stuck.
Yeah. That's what happens when you do a stage 1. But never fear, we have a Mumble Room here with us. Time-appropriate greetings, Mumble Room.
Hello.
Time appropriate greetings.
Hello, guys.
Hi there.
Hello. Now we have news right off the top of the show that I think we should probably get into. You know me. I love doing a little breaking news on the Unplugged program.
This is CNN Breaking News.
And if any of these stories actually really matter, we'll cover them more extensively in Linux Action News. But let's start with an update on the quote-unquote Android problem. This is a play on an earlier story that went around about a year ago, and it starts like this. Android has been a great boon to the Linux kernel community, having brought a great deal of growth in both the user and development communities, but Android has also been a problem in devices running it. They ship with kernels containing large amounts, often millions of lines of out-of-date tree code, that fragments the developer community and makes it impossible to run mainline kernels on this hardware. Yep, that's about right. The problematic side of Android was discussed at the 2017 Maintainer Summit. That's what just wrapped up. But what actually came out of the summit was a rather optimistic look towards the future. We have a couple of positive trends developing right now. I thought this could be interesting, especially in light of what we're about to talk about. So this starts with some quotes from Greg KH. You remember Greg? He's been on the Linux Action Show before, and he's also the maintainer of the long-term support edition of the kernel that we've been talking more about. And he says that he started out the talk really by saying that they've been working some time with the system-on-a-chip vendors to try to resolve a core problem, which he says the real issue is the shipping out of tree unpatched code is primarily Qualcomm. They decided not to work upstream. And Qualcomm has since concluded that that was a mistake on their part, and they have also apparently become determined to fix it. But the process of fixing it's going to take years. And here's the funny thing. See, before kernel 4.14, the longest support that the kernels got on these system-on-a-chips was 2 years. And the catch-22 is it takes the system-on-a-chip makers about 2 years to get their shit out the door. So by the time their chips shipped in Android devices, it was just about at the end of the 2-year lifetime support for the LTS kernel. So by the time they could even ship, the kernel they were using is losing support. And somebody asked in the crowd, has anybody ever successfully done a major kernel upgrade on an Android phone in the wild? What do you suppose the answer to that is?
No.
Pretty much. It's close. The only phones in the wild that have gotten like over-the-air updates that were pushed out by Google and carriers and the OEM, the Galaxy Nexus and Galaxy S phones, some of them, have seen major kernel upgrades. So it's technically possible, but when you upgrade the kernel, there's a number of regulatory certifications that have to get redone. So the idea with this new 6-year support cycle, we will be able to ship code fixes and bug fixes and security fixes to these Android handsets for years after they've gone into the market. They won't be just going to the market as they are going out of support, but it's not a perfect situation yet. In fact, Greg says that if vendors don't follow Google's new Project Treble rules and they don't really fix this behavior, he's going to eventually stop maintaining this 6-year LTS release. I mean, why bother? I mean, for him, it's like that's a lot of work. But for now, he's running an experiment, and he's going to support the 4.4x kernels for a period of 6 years, which I think is going to be a huge, huge boost for Android security. A bunch of other interesting things in here. It was interesting to see Linus Torvalds chime in. He noted that there's a lot of Android devices that are not necessarily phones. Tablets, for example, could prove to be a better development device. And so there was a good back and forth. Linus also asked about the status of the Mali GPU driver, and that there is a person working on reverse engineering that device, but he didn't work out well with other developers. So now somebody else is making progress on the older GPUs, but nobody's working on the current generation devices. And Linus pointed out that if we could get that solved, the community as a whole would be in good shape. So that's also an interesting story, that Mali GPU driver issue. But yeah, so they walked away from the summit feeling much more positive. As long as vendors get on board with Project Treble and ship an LTS kernel, this issue where there's millions of lines of code outside the mainline kernel tree, the core problem with that is it's fracturing developer time and resources. So instead of working on the main kernel, you have a lot of really high-end, well-paid, commercially backed software developers that are working on a kernel code tree that may never see the main tree. It may just be lost work. I got an example. The 2014 Motorola phone is just getting the Vibe support added to the kernel for its Taptic engine in like a 2014 Motorola phone, because the driver for that always existed in another tree, another branch of the kernel that never made it to mainline. And just in the last kernel update, somebody came around and got that code into mainline kernel, and so now it's in there. And this problem, but the core issue is that it's been fracturing developer focus. Now, unless anybody has anything to say on that, there's not probably much to add. I want to talk about this story because it's also Android related, and it affects all of us that use Android. It affects you if you have location services turned off. It affects you if you've pulled the SIM out of your phone. Google is still collecting your location and the address of cell towers around you. I want to be clear, even if you've turned off your location services, even if you've removed the SIM card, when you take all those precautions, phones running Android software gather data about your location and send it back to Google whenever they get connected to the internet. Since the beginning of this year, in January of 2017, Android phones have been collecting the addresses of nearby cellular towers, even when location services are disabled, and sending that data back to Google. The result is that Google, a unit of Alphabet behind Android, has access to data about individuals' locations and their movements that go far beyond reasonable consumers' expectation of privacy. Now, QuartzQZ.com did a whole bunch of actual journalism, including doing data captures and getting the information that it's directly collecting, contacting Google and finding out what the hell's going on. So this is Google's statement. This is their answer. In January of this year, we began looking into using cell ID codes as an additional signal to further improve the speed and performance of our message delivery. I think they're talking about push notifications.
Yep.
The Google spokesperson said in an email that, however, we had incorporated Cell ID into our network sync system. We hadn't incorporated Cell ID into our network sync system, so that data was immediately discarded, and we updated it to no longer request Cell ID. So they're going to phase it out, they say, by the end of this year. The location sharing practice does not appear to be limited to any particular type of Android phone or tablet. Google was apparently collecting cell tower data from all modern Android devices, even devices that have been reset to factory default settings and apps with location services disabled were observed by Quartz sending nearby cell tower addresses to Google. Devices with cellular data or Wi-Fi connections appear to send the data to Google each time they come within range of a new cell tower. When Android devices are connected to a Wi-Fi network, they will send the cell tower address to Google even if they don't have a SIM card installed. Which is really my favorite part of this whole thing. They say this is to improve push notification delivery, but this also feels like the time that they were just driving around whole cloth collecting everybody's Wi-Fi data and network information. For anybody that had it. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we just accidentally left that whole TCP dump thing running in the background. That was our bad. Sorry. Oh, you want to fine us for that? Oh, because this is going to be outside the U.S. too. I mean, there could be other governments that don't have such a favorable view of Google that want to respond to this. This came out today at QZ.com, and they did a really good job. They did packet capture. They contacted Google. It's been like this for 11 months, according to a Google spokesperson. What are your thoughts on this? Not surprised, I take it.
No, not really. It's just, it seems like Google does things and then just forgets to turn them off.
Oh, you're being charitable then. You think they didn't mean to do this?
Well, I mean, you can't really tell one way or the other.
Oh, I feel like you implicitly build this into your system, and then you had to. I mean, think about the system they had to build to monitor this, resolve it to an address, collect that data, batch it up, and queue it to be sent back to Google once a Wi-Fi connection was there. That's pretty intentional. That's a pretty sophisticated system.
Well, I mean, they already admitted that they intentionally built this system to potentially use it. They just didn't end up using it.
So this is what weirds me out about using Android, is there's probably a dozen other things like this about it. And is it part of the Play services? Does it happen if you're on a different ROM that's still using Android? I don't know. And why this stuff isn't optional? Go ahead. Were you going to say, was somebody in the moment I'm going to jump in?
Yeah, I was just going to mention, isn't this our concern about closed source software in general? Like, completely inclusive of all closed source software? That the developers have put in backdoors that they can just flip on and start siphoning data whenever they jolly well please, and we can't go and audit for it.
It also feels like there's an additional risk when that company is primarily profited by advertising, so they really have a ton of business incentive to know a lot more about you. And because they're a public corporation, they're always trying to find new paths to revenue. They're always trying to increase their bottom line. If they're sitting on this information, there could be a discussion at some point that says, could we integrate this into their advertising profile somehow? That would be really weird. Like, you start seeing ads when you drive by a place. Verizon was trying to work on that. Yeah. So the one thing I couldn't get out of the Quartz article was if this was a Play services thing or if this was deeper in Android. My gut says it's probably any device that supports Play services. So if you're running on a ROM and you don't have GApps, then you might be in the clear. But if you're using an alternative ROM and you have the Play API stuff, then you probably are getting tracked.
I think the push notification stuff is in stock Android, so...
Yeah, it must be. I mean, it would have to be. But it doesn't necessarily mean that's where the tracking is. But yeah.
Yeah, I suppose. The thing I don't get is why...
Because if they turned it on in January across multiple generation of Android devices, that almost has to be a Play API thing.
Why is this still enabled even if you don't have a SIM card, though? Because if they're using it for improving that the messaging,
you don't need that.
That comes over your cell network.
They're going. If you're on Wi-Fi only, then you're on Wi-Fi. It doesn't matter what cell tower. And do they really have the ability to route to a specific cell tower? Isn't it just all TCP/IP data packets, and they send it to the carrier, and then it's the carrier's job to track where my device is and route it to the proper cell tower?
Well,
it doesn't seem like Google's involved in that process at all.
My guess would be that if they were to enable this, they'd be sharing that data with the cell carriers, so they know.
Well,
how to
that's
route traffic
even
more
creepier.
efficiently.
That's even creepier. Yeah. Push notifications are in Play services, yeah, of course, but I think you can still get push notifications if you don't have the Play APIs. But they can't really update Android unless it's through the Play services. And then on the other end of the spectrum, so we go from ARM devices to Intel devices. I haven't seen a lot of write-ups on this yet, but today, really yesterday night, but today, Intel, we're switching gears here, posted a revised update to a cumulative review that they have done on the Intel Management Engine. Yeah, you know, that ME thing you hear everybody talking about that everybody's working to bypass right now. I just got a tweet from Carl at System76 today saying they're working to bypass Intel ME on their systems. Of course, we've talked about how Purism did that recently, and Google has launched a project to do this as well. So Intel writes, in response to issues identified by external researchers, Intel has performed an in-depth, comprehensive security review of our own shit. And as a result, Intel has identified several security vulnerabilities that could potentially place impacted platforms at risk. Systems using the ME versions of basically all of them are impacted. It's anything with a 6th or 7th or 8th generation Intel Core processor, or a few of the Xeon and 1 or 2 of the Celeron CPUs. So if you have anything older than a 6th generation Intel CPU, this doesn't apply to you. You're not running one of the systems that have Minix embedded. It's only on the systems that are on the last 3 generations of Intel CPUs. So it's not as widely deployed as some would have you believe, but it's still a major problem. And it's getting bypassed and exploited at a faster rate because the management engine is now built around a Intel Edison system on a chip design, and that's an x86 platform, which means all of the x86 debugging tools and memory reading tools and just the huge amount of tribal knowledge around how x86 applications work all apply now to hacking this management engine. And that's why we're starting to see a big influx of bypasses and exploits. So Intel thought, hey, you know what we should do? We should take a look and see if we can find anything. Now, I would have expected them to find stuff, say nothing, and push out a minor update, but it turns out they found multiple buffer overflows, multiple privilege escalations, multiple buffer overflows in one of their other chips, and a buffer overflow in the active management technology in the mini versions of the Intel management engine that allow remote access on server systems. So there's actually some shit in here that needs to get fixed. And now, as a Linux user, you've got to figure out what particular dance you've got to do to get your firmware updated. Some systems will just get it through GNOME software. Others, I don't know how you're going to get it.
I mean, I applaud Intel on their transparency, at least.
Yeah, I have a more skeptical take on this. Not to be frying bacon here in the Unplugged program, but isn't this exactly how you'd fix all these little loopholes and workarounds that people are using to disable the management engine in the first place? Is you'd push out quote unquote security fixes, because these are legitimate security flaws. I mean, what's the difference if you're using an exploit or a buffer overflow to disable the management engine versus take it over? You're using the same attack vector. So to Intel, they're both attack vectors. One is used to bypass the management engine, one is used to take over the management engine. It needs to be fixed either way in Intel's book.
Yeah, I mean, but
you could take away some of these OEMs' ability to ship a system without the management engine.
Yeah.
Maybe Intel creates a product that doesn't have a management engine for people who care? Could you see them doing that? Could you see them releasing a chip without a management engine?
Or just add an option to disable it to the...
Would you trust it? If there was a software setting to disable it, would you trust that it was actually disabled? I don't know.
I mean, would you trust that there isn't a hidden management engine in new hardware?
No. I almost kind of think it's sort of spooky. It's almost in everything now. You think it's bad on there? Just think about phones and stuff. Yeah. I think you're probably right. Hopefully I'm just being extra cynical, and Intel really just wants to keep the security on this good, and they're not looking to sort of shut down these exploits.
I feel like Intel doesn't have a choice but to fix these problems.
Of course.
Because if they don't do it, they get lambasted for having
a vulnerable product.
Yeah, and if they do it, then they get lambasted by people wanting to disable the management engine. Yep. So Intel can't win, basically.
Despazoni, how do I say it again? You'll have to remind me. Despazoni? I forget. I'm sorry. I like
Despazny.
Yeah, okay. I like what you just put in the Discord. Say it out loud, because that's good.
Yeah, I mean, if you let it leave it up to the software to say it's disabled, it's not going to be any different than Google saying, sure, your location's disabled.
Yeah. I feel like our last story has taught us that lesson. You're exactly right. Anybody else have thoughts on either the Android story or anything we've talked about so far in the news? On big news day today. There's nobody. That's fine. It's fine. I guess that, I take that to mean I've comprehensively covered the stories. Is that what that means? Can I take that?
Chris,
what?
I would guess that the best way to disable the Intel management engine is to buy an AMD product.
Yeah, except for now, Intel and AMD chips are going to be shipping together, Rikai. So
Sure.
they're taking that peanut butter and that chocolate, and they're shipping a single product. So who knows? Cats and dogs, Rikai. You can't count on anything
So
anymore.
what you're saying is ARM chips?
Yeah, I don't know if that bag is much better. That's also an equal bag, I've heard. You know what isn't, though? Linux Academy. linuxacademy.com/unplugged. Go there to get a free 7-day trial for the platform about Linux. Also support the show. Coincidentally, linuxacademy.com/unplugged. Everything you need to learn and get hands-on experience with Linux. Self-paced, in-depth video courses on every Linux, cloud, and DevOps topic. It's so awesome. When I logged in there, I'm like, what is something that I've always been sort of a little, I won't say afraid, but apprehensive about getting into? Well, it'd be development. I've always felt like I can't wrap my head around it. I don't have the focus. So when I went to Linux Academy and they're able to break different topics down to like 4 hours, 6 hours, course 1, basics, I'm like, finally, to me, it clicks. It's not this huge nebulous thing. It's just 6 hours of my time that I need to dedicate. And then they have a course scheduler where you can pick a course and set a time frame, and then they'll help you stick to it, set some learning goals. If you want to go for certifications, they've got learning paths just for that. Instructor mentoring real human beings when you need it. It's a great service. linuxacademy.com/unplugged. Go there, sign up, and get a free 7-day trial. Also, grab their iOS and Android app. You can study on the go, and they have lesson audio and personal notebooks, other tools to help you study that are all downloaded. You have them with no internet at all. You can go out and camp and learn about Linux for all I care. In fact, I recommend it. linuxacademy.com/unplugged. Big thank you to Linux Academy for sponsoring the Unplugged program. You guys keep it up. Maybe I'll get a quieter chair. Do you hear this chair today?
Wait.
Can you hear this?
I can hear this, but more importantly, I can do something tech related and it doesn't require the cloud.
Dude, you know how people were saying they were hearing farts in TechSnap? It might be this chair.
No, it was too consistent.
Okay, but listen. So hold on. I'm going to turn off my gate. Okay, you hear that? That's my. This thing's just like it's falling apart.
Yeah, we need new chairs, Chris.
I know. Yeah, you see that? We got to get a chair fund. We really do, or we just need more patrons so we can dedicate some of that to chairs because they are just falling apart. Patreon.com/Jupiter Signal. Okay, so speaking of kernels, 4.14 arrived recently. And there was sort of this throwaway line that Linus had that I thought would be interesting to dig into. And it was just sort of simple. He says, when he announced the release of kernel 4.14, it's probably worth pointing out, Linus writes, that the 0-day robot has been getting even better. It was very useful before, but it has been working on making it. They've been working on making it even better and reporting the problems it found. A 0-day robot. Working on the Linux kernel, I thought to myself when I read Linus's email, and I thought, let's take a look into this. So the Reg has an article about it. The said robot is an automated vulnerability checker that scours the kernel code for issues. With version 4.14 slated to be the next kernel to receive long-term support, and that support now being 6 years, it was even more important than ever. And so I found out that this is essentially an Intel open source project. As 01.org, which stands for Intel Open Source. And the 0-day service is an automated Linux kernel test service that provides comprehensive test coverage of the kernel. It monitors various kernel trees spanning the mainline tree, the next tree, maintainers trees, key developers trees. It watches all of those for changes, and also monitors the Linux kernel mailing list itself. It performs builds and boots and functional tests and performance tests and power tests whenever it detects a change. Whenever there are any boot, functional, performance, or power issues detected by the test infrastructure, kernel developers receive an email report with a from the Kbuild test robot. This is a service from the 0-day that automatically reports build failures of Linux code. What's also cool is when one is successful, it then tries to actually build it on physical hardware and boot it. And that's kind of a neat thing. If there's any failure during the build stage, 0-day will bisect the failure to the first code patch that introduces the failure. The patch author is then notified with the failure information and the steps to reproduce the problem. This allows developers to reproduce the problem in their local environment and then verify their fixes. And this thing's just always going there, scanning all the time, getting better and better, and learning more about their quirks. So when you hear the kernel developers talk about the 0-day bot, this is what it is. And looking into this would say it's more like dozens of different functions and services that are all kind of working together. I guess that's kind of a bot now these days. I guess you could call that a bot. and it's neat because the performance tests are one thing, like 80 different functional test suites, the benchmark stuffs that it generates and gives people like hey, before this patch, we were running this fast, and now after this patch, we're running like this. That's pretty good stuff, and it helps you scale as the kernel gets huge. And it sounds like it's actually functional stuff because something tells me that if it was crap, Linus would be calling it crap in the mailing list and not giving it props at the top of his release announcement. So that also serves well for it. Also, kind of another feature that flew under the radar for 4.14 is this heterogeneous memory management. You're going to like this, Beardsley. It allows GPUs to access an application's memory space.
Yeah, so it's good for like GPU intensive stuff.
Yeah. Isn't that cool? That's a pretty cool feature. And also the Droid 4 phone is the phone that got that vibrator driver that I was talking. Not that kind of vibrator. Not that kind. This kind of goes in a phone. Jeez, guys. That mumble room is dirty today.
True.
So that
I do like that in this article they referred to Linus at one point as the Linux Lord.
Really, is that what they say? Yeah, well, I suppose. Yeah, he was in the news quite a bit this week, but mostly for his language again, not for the code that got released. I thought maybe we'd just focus on the code. We've talked positively about Bcache.fs on this show. Bcache is an up-and-coming project. I'm a patron of the developer. Big fan. I think it's going to be a fantastic desktop file system. I think it's going to be the choice. People be talking about Hammer. People be talking about Btrfs and ZFS. Those are all great in their own rights. But Bcache.fs is where I'm betting the future, especially on MVNE. I mean, it's going to be a good future, guys. It's going to be really good. The present, however, is bad. It's real bad. In fact, Bcache is destroying file systems, at least on Gentoo. Haha. Speaking of the Gentoo challenge, using Bcache can destroy the file system. Mine was gone after a third non-successful try to mount the root FS. It was not possible to recover any files. These things happen. And so a Gentoo user found it, submitted a bug, and they're looking into it right now. Could be nothing. Could be bad. Could be pretty bad.
I mean, to be fair, doesn't the Bcache developer say that you shouldn't use this as a important file system?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's why you got to have backups when you're doing this kind of stuff. Absolutely. That's why I'm a patron and not a user. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Those kind of things happen. Remember when we talked about Btrfs eating some systems too? When these things are in development, I think it's something that you don't really fully appreciate until you've lost some data to something like this, and then you don't tend to experiment with file systems. And when you hear bad things about a file system, you tend to stay clear of it. I was listening to Noah's interview yesterday with Wendell from Level 1 Techs in Ask Noah. What episode was that, Beer? Was that 34? 35. Episode 35 of Ask Noah, where he had Wendell on. And I was happy to hear Wendell give a plug to my favorite desktop file system right now, which is XFS. I think it has been my go-to now for over a decade. Really solid file system, still under active development. We've mentioned it before on the show, but you guys you write in and ask all the time. Extended is fine too, but if you're going for the desktop, you don't need a big fancy setup. I really think XFS is a super solid file system. It's got journaling for the metadata. It's got online defrag. It's got extended attribute support. It's fast too.
Yeah, it sits feature-wise in between EXT and ZFS.
Yeah, and I think it's got a bright future. Put it that way. All right, let's do some app picks. I'm feeling like we're gonna run out of. I'm feeling like we're moving so fast that we're gonna run out of time, and Wes will get here and it will be out of time for the Gentoo challenge, and then we're gonna have to punt another episode of the Gentoo challenge. I can't even believe it. We should just do a special episode, like a 24-hour Gentoo-a-thon or something.
You know, if you want to waste some time, I can give you a surprise app pick, Chris.
Oh, really? You want to do 3 app picks?
Sure.
Let's do it. Yeah.
So a friend of mine was trying to figure out the frequency of their CPU.
Oh, yeah?
And it turns out that proc CPU info is not always accurate. In fact, that was mentioned in
the 4.14 release.
Yeah. So there's a third-party tool called i7Z.
Yeah.
That is specifically for the i-series Intel processors. that gives very, very accurate frequencies for your stuff, so you can tell if it's like respecting power states correctly and stuff.
Yeah, so you're talking about the i7Z tool, right? Which is, I think, is the official page, the code.google page?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put a link to that in the show notes. This I have used myself when doing like reviews and stuff. It's nice to have it up because I think it's a cute app, and I happen to like just the way it displays the information too.
There's a command line app too.
Really?
Yep.
Cool. Am I thinking of a different app then with the Google?
No, it has a GUI version as well.
Oh, I don't know if I actually kind of prefer the command line because then I could use it on like VPS systems and stuff.
I think at least on Arch, there's i7Z and then i7Z-GUI.
Oh, that's totally what I did. You know me. You know me back. You know that I was rolling Arch back then. All right, so you ready for I got two. I got one for video folks.
Let's do this.
And I got one for audio folks. The first one, I don't know how this is.
Listening.
Yeah, maybe you've heard of this, Eric. I had not, I don't think, and I'm not really sure how this is possible because it's their 5th release. And I follow this stuff pretty closely, but it's called VidCutter, and it's a free video trimmer app that traditionally has been available for Mac and Windows, and I guess Linux for a fair share of time. And it's a Qt 5 application that uses FFmpeg underneath. That's the core of it. And this is an article over at OMG Ubuntu. But if you want to split video, trim video, or join video clips into a single montage, this is like VidCutter's like power zone. The app lets you perform these tasks as well as a bunch of others super quick. It's got a really nice timeline UI that makes it easy and simple even if you're not a video editor. You can create frame-accurate cuts using the new Smart Cut feature that's in the latest release, which makes the feature makes use of re-encoding and can be toggled on and off by clicking on a little icon, so you can either keep the straight video or recode the video, like if it's a flash video or it's a whatever FFmpeg supports. And it's got a nice fancy progress bar down below where you can see which clip. Beard, you see that on the main screen there? You see how they put the progress bar over the actual part of the clip that's rendering?
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting UI approach. I like that, so you can see what it's helping. And then they have a feature called Stream Mapping, which helps ensure all source media streams are included in the finished export.
Yeah, that's inherited from FFmpeg.
That is a pretty nice looking app. So it's a free video trimming app for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux desktop, Joey writes, and you can get it as an app image. Geez, it's a 200 meg app image, but you can also get it as a PPA. It's probably in the AUR and all the other places.
For real world usage, I can see people using this to very quickly make GIFs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Or this is always my go-to example is you're gonna go to Xgiving. How do you like that, Xgiving? Yeah, it's like Thanksgiving and the Christmas holiday and all the other Xgiving. Yeah, I don't know. What else do you call it? You got to have like some sort of generic term for like the next month and a half.
Happy holidays, Chris.
Yeah, well, you go to the family holiday thing and you got a couple of videos on your new fancy smartphone because, you're a geek, so you got one of them phones, maybe has a 4K camera, maybe it's 1080. I don't know what you got, but you go there, you get your camera, you get your video. Now you can put it together. You can put a little music to it. You could cut in and outs. You can get that embarrassing moment cut out or keep it in, depending on your family. And then you can crap that thing out in just a couple of seconds because you can choose to not re-encode or re-encode and post it up on your family page or whatever the hell you got. And now you're the holiday superstar.
Or say there could be this guy doing a podcast about politics that needs to cut clips real quick.
That
doesn't want to re-encode.
That's
things.
of course my personal reason. Yeah, that is my personal reason, of course.
I've got a use case as well.
Oh yeah?
This might come in handy, like if I have to import a huge file into some video editor and don't want to spend like years waiting for it to decode and go into whatever native file format it needs to.
Absolutely. Yeah, that, and then every time you can avoid re-encoding, you avoid losing quality too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I do like that they offer a toggle.
Okay, so we're liking that. I like it when you guys like a pick because sometimes I do a pick and it's like boom, it's thud. Now this one might be the one that thud. Oh, geez. Okay, sorry about that live stream. We had a GNOME crash. I think I'll stop and start the file. Okay. We'll pick it up from here. Okay, well, you guys liked that one. I like it when I have an app pick that you guys actually enjoy. I think this next one might be a bit of a thud, but I'm going to give it a go. Now I've got one for you audio fans out there. And this could be just simple if you like listening to stuff and then you hit pause. And if you're somebody like me, after you like pause a podcast or a radio show or whatever you're listening to, I like to back it up like a few seconds so that way I don't miss anything and just back it up a couple seconds. Well, this is Parlotype. It's a minimal audio player. It's built for speech transcription. It's written for the GNOME desktop, and it plays audio files and then lets you transcribe them in your favorite text editor. But here's a cool thing. It has two features I really like. Number one, when you pause, it rewinds a few seconds. So when you hit play, you're like 3 seconds back. That is great. I wish I could have that in a video player because I would use the crap out of that for our shows. And then the other thing I like is that it can play back as fast or as slow as you're typing. And it has the ability to speed up the playback without altering the pitch of the sound. So you don't get the chipmunk effect. And
That's a game changer for closed captioning.
Huge, dude. It's huge. And it also has a bunch of great features. It produces timestamps, which you can insert into a transcription. It has LibreOffice helpers. They recommend you use LibreOffice because they have a set of macros that can be assigned to key bindings, and you can insert timestamps or jump to timestamps. And of course, it's using GStreamer on the back end, so whatever you can play with GStreamer, you can play with this thing. This could just be a great way to listen to podcasts, and then you can use it for transcription if you want. Transcription is something that all podcasts could use. They could use it because it opens it up to another audience, number one. It makes it accessible to an audience that otherwise is just totally left out. But it also helps with search. It helps, Google doesn't search audio files, it searches text. And so podcasts that can do transcription can be better discovered. It's a great way to, if there's a podcast you love, it'd be a great way to help them out.
Hello.
So there you go. It's Parlotype, and I'll have a link in the show notes. Seems pretty nice. Seems like, and I guess for those of you that are not visualizing, it's one of those minimal GNOME 3 applications, but it's got everything you need. Play and stuff is in the client side decoration. In the middle is a waveform. Below that is a accurate time scale, and then you have playback controls in the bottom half and a speed slider. Pretty nice, pretty clean, pretty simple. It would fit on your screen while you're working and not take up a lot of room. So, I'm going to just probably do it to listen to local podcasts that I download the MP3 of. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking forward to that. Parloplay. You know what we should do? Or Parlotype, I'm sorry. Parlotype. Is we should take a second here. If you're listening live, if you're in Discord or you're in the IRC, and wish Angela, tag her and wish her a happy birthday, because today, as we're recording, is her birthday. There you go. Another little breaking news, right? Architect points out that AntennaPod also has speed up. I wonder how many people listen to our shows at double speed. I've recently taken to doing it for a couple of things that I'm trying to catch up on, and man, does it devastate the music. It just wrecks the audio. I don't know. Have you guys, anybody in the Mumble Room, like a 2X listener of podcasts? There's an article today about it, actually. It's actually a news story about the people who listen to podcasts at 2X. That's actually, I wonder if I could find it really quick. No, I don't think. Speedcasters is what they call them, I think. They called them speedcasters or something like that.
It turns out that almost nobody goes over 1.8 for some reason, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it starts sounding pretty bad.
Most people stick to 1.5.
People who listen to podcasts at 2X or something like that. I know there was an article today about it. Yeah, here it is. Of course it's BuzzFeed. Of course it is. It's Meet the People Who Listen to Podcasts at Super Fast Speeds. That's what it is. Yeah, they say 2X, but yeah, I think you're probably right. And they say most people listen to 5 podcasts a week, but some people listen to a lot more. Some people 20% of podcast consumers listen to more than 6 podcasts a week, and they call them podfasters. That's what it was, podfasters. Isn't that obnoxious? Of course, leave it to BuzzFeed. But nobody in the Mumble Room will own up to it. Nobody in the mum room's going up to being a
will.
pod. Oh, who's a podfaster?
As Bitmux, I don't quite make 2x, but really it depends on the speed of the podcaster. I will do easily 1.5, 1.6.
Really? I would think I would sound way too fast at that speed. I would put me like a 1.3 max. I'm talking like this.
I do it accidentally.
There's a Boing Boing article that says some people listen it up to 300%.
Well, I actually will sometimes listen to audiobooks at a pretty fast clip because my ADD brain has to listen just a little bit more intently, and I retain the information better. So it's a little bit of a brain hack, is if I listen faster, I can't let my brain drift because I will miss it. And because it's more challenging, I find it more satisfying to stay focused on. So there is some logic to it when you're getting through it like an audiobook. I just find with podcasts, it wrecks the flow of the conversation.
Well, apparently there are some other potential benefits besides speed. Apparently higher tones are less likely to be masked by low-pitched street noises, HVAC, or low-flying planes. So it's easier to hear in like loud situations.
That's weird. Huh. Okay. Yeah, I can't argue with that. That's ear science, right? I mean, how do you,
Yeah.
And what
ear science, right?
you know, it's really strange is when you listen to the theme music of various podcasts for so long at high speed, and then you listen to that same podcast live, it feels like the theme music is just dragging.
See, I have the opposite feeling. When I hear it, I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh, I was going to try to do it, but I don't. What's the command in MPV to double speed? Is there a command? I don't know what it is. I'm sure there is one, but yeah.
And it also says if you speed it up to 2x or 3x, your comprehension really starts to break down. But the exception to this is blind people, because they're used to only listening, so they can speed it up faster than sighted people and still understand it.
I'm just thinking right now of the Ask Noah show at 2x. I'm just thinking how fast that would, boom, right? That would be pretty. That'd be a rapid fire podcast right there.
I feel like if you sped it up at all, you can't understand.
And it'd be in a half hour. That'd be good. Oh, there you go. Okay. Huh. Let's see. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it real quick, and then we'll move on. We're totally wasting. We're stalling because I want to be able to do the Gen 2 challenge today. All right, so. No, it didn't do it. Oh, well. People listening just like sort of lazily will be like, what the hell's going on? What's the matter? Then I wonder if you'll get a comment about bad editing. That'd be good. Rika, you really screwed up and put the intro in there twice. All right. Well, you could, if you wanted to, take a moment while we're waiting for Wes and head over to DigitalOcean. This might be a good use of our time, because what else is there to do with life other than wait for Wes Payne and set up DigitalOcean? DigitalOcean.com, you go there. You create your account, and then use our promo code DO Unplugged. That helps Rikai's beard grow. And really, that's what this whole show's about. It's really a long play to grow that beard. You go to DigitalOcean, you create the account, and then you apply that beard oil called DO Unplugged, one word, and that'll give you a $10 credit. You can get started in less than 55 seconds, and you'll have a fast system on their infrastructure. Everything's SSDs. 40 gigabit connections to the hypervisor, object storage, and block storage.
Hey, Chris, this beard, it's pretty big. You know what it could use? Some space.
Oh, yeah. Well, then you need to check out their new Spaces system. It's object storage, beautiful and simple. You can use it pragmatically like a boss, or you can just generate URLs in their dashboard. And by the way, hell of a dashboard it is. They got a dashboard for days over there. You've got a long time, sort of like a barnacle of the IT industry. Got kind of like this sort of skeptical outlook on everything, all this newfangled web stuff. Let DigitalOcean treat you to how to do it right. You build a product around an amazing API, and then that results in a gorgeous dashboard, and it results in an easy, simple, I'm going to say, not having done a lot, but the work we have done, very comprehensive API. Like the things that we can do with the API, I don't even know why I'd even need to go to the website if I didn't want to. And it's so simple and well documented. So while I haven't set up 10,000 systems, every single day I'm controlling multiple DigitalOcean systems using that API, and I don't ever use that dashboard. And then when I go back there, I'm like, damn, look at this thing. This isn't a dashboard for days. This is a dashboard for years. DigitalOcean.com. Use our promo code DO Unplugged. And a big thank you to DigitalOcean for sponsoring this here Unplugged program.
You use Spaces, don't you?
Yeah, I have. I've only done light testing with it because, I don't have a big need for it. But I did use it to share some pretty large files. and it's super fast. And the link, I had it automatically destroy after like, I don't remember, it was like a time period I set in there. I think it might have been a couple of days because I was trying it out. And then the files are gone. Boom. Just destroyed. I feel like such a boss when I know like my data's got like a self-destruct. Like I feel like it's Mission Impossible. Speaking of Mission Impossible, let's do a little break into your system before somebody else does. This is, I think, one of the best security practices. You can keep your system patched. You can use the right, account privileges, don't run as root, all this kind of stuff. But if you're not probing your system, you're not really fully confident that it's secure. And who doesn't want to just sort of take a look, do a little audit? It's, a little checkup, like going to the mechanic. Only you can do it yourself. The tools have changed over the years, but Lynis, Lynis, is an open source security auditing tool. And you run this on a FreeBSD box, a Solaris box, an AIX box, a Mac, NetBSD. Oh, yes. Oh, and Linux, yeah. You can run that on these systems, including things like a QNAP storage device, and it will come back with an extremely comprehensive report. Now, this isn't going to be the all-in-all solution. You run this and now your box is perfectly secure. But if IT security isn't your day job, you will get a pretty good education running this thing. Because not only will it check for some best practices, like what's listening on the network, what version your patches are, what CVEs your system is vulnerable to, but it'll also audit things like your SSH configuration and make sure that you're following some of the best practices there because things change. And they keep this program up to date. So it's basically a 6-step system after you install it. You run it, it determines your operating system. It'll search for available utilities and updates. You then run the test based on some plugins that it ships with out of the box. And you get different categories to choose from, and then you get the report. And I thought we'd just do it right here on the show because it's pretty quick. And I've already installed it. There is a it's not a PPA, but there is a repository available for Debian and Ubuntu systems. It's probably in a lot of repos, or you can just download it from them. Once you have it installed, you get the Lynis command, Lyns, and you can do Lynis show commands. And I'm showing it here on the video version. If you'd like to check at this point in the show. If you're listening on audio, you can go refer to the YouTube if you'd like, or just install it and run Lynis show commands, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's pretty straightforward. So the first thing we're going to do is, I'm going to try not to do anything as sudo until it tells me to, by the way, and you can follow along if you like. I'm going to do a Lynis update first to make sure that all my stuff is updated. And we'll do update for info. So this will be all the vulnerability info that it can know about. All right, so I am up to date. So if I'm up to date, then I can go ahead and I can run the audit. So now that I am going to run as root sudo Lynis audit. You type that in. I give it my crazy super secure password. And I should mention one of the things they've recently added to Lynis is the ability to also audit Docker files. So you can download a Docker file and then run this against those containers. And that is super, super, super useful. But in this case, I need to actually specify system now. So I'm going to specify Lynis audit system. Now it begins to run. It checks the operating system, and it's finding all kinds of stuff already. It's going to generate a text report that I can read at my leisure. It's going to be in var, and you're going to need root privileges to be able to read it. But if you can do that, then you just it'll give you the path. You just give that to your favorite text editor, Nano, and then you can read the full report. But right now, Lynis it'll take anywhere from, just found some stuff, anywhere from a minute, took what, about 25, 30 seconds to run it here on my system. And now I can get a report here in my browser. So I got a couple of dings already. There is, right off the top here, some recommendations for how I could harden my SSH configuration. There is some auditing changes I could make and some changes to logging on my system it's recommending. It's also recommending that I install Rootkit Hunter or check Rootkit and then cron that, which is just sort of a best practice. So it ranges from things that I actively need to do or patch to best practices. And in fact, here's some on permissions. Here's a warning, found one or more vulnerable packages. And then it gives me the package that it found and a URL to read more about it. It also recommends that I set a password on my Grub bootloader to prevent altering boot configuration. And it also goes through and identifies all of the package files that have changed since I've installed them on my system. And system software that might have a suggestion, like my log level, my Mac sessions, my permit root login settings, X1114 settings, allowing agent forwarding settings. It has suggestions for all of those. It does have a warning for file permissions with cups on my printing, something I need to fix. And of course, like I mentioned, I have a vulnerable package. But it looks like I'm pretty good as far as listening to remote hosts and looking at like my DNS stuff, looking at my IP stuff. That all checks out. I had 43 ports open on TCP or UDP. It checked promiscuous interfaces. I passed all of those. No ARP monitoring software was running. It'll also do an IPv6 audit if I have one. And then at the very bottom here, I get this here output where I could actually throw that into my vulnerabilities or my text editor of choice. It's at var log linus.log, and I could get the whole thing in there. So we could take a look at that too, because this is sort of the thing you would want to, if you were actually doing this for work, you would use this as documentation that you've completed the audit. Oh yeah, I just said you had to have root permissions. This could be your document. This is right here your documentation that you completed the audit, but this is also now your comparison. So you save this, you set it aside, you make the changes that it recommends, and then you run it again. And you see how you do on the next pass. And then you find what's missing, you make those changes, and then you save that, you set it aside, and you run it again. And you just keep doing that, and you can do it on your DigitalOcean droplets, you can do it on your laptops, you can do it on your servers. It supports tons of different operating systems. It's based on stuff that I have been using for over a decade. Some of you might remember Bastille and other tools that have been around for a very, very long time. And the funny thing about actual IT security, the dirty truth about it is you don't have to get it right. You just have to show that you're actively trying to mitigate risk and you're actively taking corrective action when you find an issue. And if you can show that to auditors or management or whoever it is in your particular dynamic, that's really the benchmark. That's the bar. I'm not arguing. I'm not advocating it. I think it should be you strive for optimum security in every case. But the reality is, in a large production environment, you need a tool where you can have a baseline to work off, something you can modify and add your own things. That's the other thing is you can do with Linus is you can add your own kinds of checks that are maybe specific to your environment. And you can also say we're using this to check Docker images when we pull them down. And so when management comes to you, or when an auditor, in my case, had come to us, we could say, we are using this. This is a process we've developed. This is a tool we've used. This is the tool, and this is what we do when we document a mistake, and this is what we do when we document a fix. And it gave us a paper trail of IT security auditing, and that not only saved our butt several times from an auditing standpoint with the FDIC, but it also showed like producible work that the IT people were doing. Like, here's this thing, and here we ran it several days later, and we fixed these things. And so that was great too. But now I can just run it on my own systems and go, oh yeah, right, I should change that about SSH. I never use that feature in SSH. Why do I have that on?
Yeah, they say that they also use it for like PCI and HIPAA compliance testing.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's basically I wasn't doing HIPAA. Well, I had to actually use it for some HIPAA systems. It also just gives you a great report of all of the background system daemons that are running. I forgot I installed Xtigo on this machine, so that was good to see that. I liked. And the developers have kept it updated throughout the years now with systemd support, and like I mentioned, they recently got Docker support in there. It's a pretty cool tool, LYNIS, and you can find it at it's cisofy.com /Sysify/Linus, and it's pretty neat. You could also cron something like this and then get reports, which is something we've done. So you can have a system. Oh, really? Oh, good to know. Good to know, Echo. Thank you. You could have this run on a remote system, a VPS or something like that, and just use it to check in and make sure nothing changes. If you've got a rig that you don't log into very often, you don't get a lot of eyes on, why not have this thing running in the background every Sunday, sending you a report, telling you if anything's gone wonky? It's pretty nice. You can start to think about ways you could use this from all kinds of different scenarios. And since it's open source and free, it also has a plugin system. But I think you start getting into the commercial territory. I have never really dug into that with Linus as much as I did with some of the previous tools. The main difference with Bastille, for those of you that remember, is this is more comprehensive. This is more of an in-depth security scan. You kind of pick a level of security that's appropriate for your environment, and then Linus holds you to that. It supports way more operating systems than Bastille did. It won't actively break your system like Bastille did in some cases. And the audit is significantly more in depth. I don't know if you guys probably nobody remembers these tools like Nessus and some of these tools that I used back in the day. But Nessus is another tool you could run against your own system. The thing is, in that case, or OpenVAST would be one you could use today. But again, in Linux, it's going to be significantly faster. You're not going to bang out your log files because you're slamming on these ports. And because you're running it on the host, you're running it with privileges that Nessus or OpenVAST wouldn't normally have. And since you're running this yourself, you want to know what's there. And so it gets a more comprehensive search of the entire system. There you go. Boy, I should, they do have an enterprise. They should contact me. We'll talk. I'll do some of the marketing for their enterprise products. I'm all in. They have like a remote core system and all that. It's probably incredibly fancy. But anyways, I've read it on enough now about my old security proclivities, but it's fun and it's a neat way to just check your system out and see what's going on. If you're on the Mac system, one of the Macintoshes, it's in Homebrew. And if you're on FreeBSD, it's in ports, and it's available as a deb and an RPM and a tarball as well as, like I said, a deb repo for the Ubuntus. What do you think, Beard? Go ahead.
I wonder if there's an API for that. I think that'd be really
that would be good.
It'd be really interesting if we could, build a GUI for that so that regular users could be able to do that kind of audit, that kind of check.
Mm-hmm.
Just be able to see little green check boxes or whatever.
It's GPL too, so I wonder if there's any distro out there that's pre-shipping this and emailing the users with a report or something. Because you could even modify it a bit to kind of clean it up and make it more presentable, I suppose.
It looks like for at least their premium software as a service offering, they do offer an API.
Oh, yeah, I figured. Isn't that how it always goes
and
now?
I'm guessing their self-hosted version also offers an API, considering you have to receive a custom quote to get it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the API is where the money's at these days, right? So you always throw that behind the enterprise product.
It is pretty affordable, though. $3 per system per month. And that's for their premium offering.
This is the way this works. Is the GPL sort of like the core product that you just run on your own on the command line that you could automate if you knew some shell scripting and cron, and you could get it done. And so they tease you with that, and then you get like a big, huge infrastructure. And they're like, if you could use the enterprise product. It's the same core technology, but we've added additional value, and we have an API. It's only $3 a month. How do you not go, I'm doing that, right? If you start using this at the enterprise level, sure, if you're on a laptop, you're on a couple systems here in the studio, probably not worth it. But you start getting more beyond 10, 15 systems, you start getting to 25, 30, 35 systems, that enterprise offering is all of a sudden starting to look pretty tempting.
I mean, I know Noah's going to be in just because there's a self-hosted option.
Oh, really? There is?
Yeah.
I should call in. To ask Noah, and I should ask him what Linus is, and he'd start explaining who Linus Torvalds is, and right? No, not Linus. Linus. What? I could just see how that conversation goes. Yeah. There you go, Dan. Build it into elementary OS, okay? Just build it right in there, and we'll give us a nice.
I gotta go poke it. Now I gotta talk to some people. I'm on a mission now.
It would be a pretty cool headline feature: elementary OS, self-auditing security.
Wouldn't that be pretty sweet?
It would.
I wonder if you could run this stuff on against the elementary OS ISOs to see how secure they are.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start a whole witch hunt now. We're gonna change some default settings, and
I think it'll be fun to watch. You tell us how it goes, Dan. You report back, okay? All right. Well, so check it out, Linus. You can find a link in the show notes. And yeah, I actually did pretty good. Some of my other systems that I ran this on did not pass the audit as well. But it's all pretty readable. It's all pretty understandable if you've worked with this stuff in the past. Because go change the permissions on this file. Go change this line in the config. Go install this package.
Does it give you a description of why this is a bad setting?
Yeah. So what they generally do, I was trying to find one that I could refer you to, but boy, there's just a lot when you look in the full log. But what they generally do is they'll say, this is a best practice for XYZ reason. See more here on this URL. And they'll give you a URL to their website with a knowledge base article. Or they'll link you to a CVE, so you can go read the CVE on that particular vulnerability. Of course, it also supports SE Linux and things like that. I probably should not get back into all the things it supports because I could really do an entire episode
You know,
just on this.
I wonder if it's possible to run it on the Windows subsystem for Linux.
That's a great question.
I want to see what that would return.
I sometimes wonder if we should have that installed somewhere on one of these systems. If we're missing some aspect of Linux now, do you think that's a thing? Are we missing out on something there?
Maybe. I mean, I feel like there's a silent group of people that are using it, but they're not talking about it.
I've definitely had a couple of conversations where people it starts like this, is like, you know how you were saying on air that you were worried that that Ubuntu on Windows would just keep people on Windows? Well, that's me. And I've had that a few times now. And they're like, it's just I was thinking about switching and now I don't have to.
I mean, but at the same time, those are technically also now Linux users.
Don't give me that crap. Don't give me that. I hate that. I hate it when people do that. It's like calling Android users Linux users.
You just don't like Linux being in a sandbox.
Yeah, don't put Linux in a box. I know. Well, unless it's a box on your Linux box.
But you're perfectly fine with running Windows in a VM. Why does that need to be in a sandbox?
Because Windows is a toy operating system.
Mhm.
It's actually almost irresponsible to run Windows on physical hardware. You should always be running Windows under Linux virtualization, I think. maybe with hardware
And
pass-through.
On the flip side, though, I think Linux is the most popular virtualized virtualized operating system.
Damn it. Yeah, you're probably right. And of course, I'm just having a bit of fun. The only time I would ever really run Windows is actually when I needed to be on physical hardware. So I don't often have use for Windows in a VM anymore.
Or when you need Skype to not suck.
Yeah, that's been a thing. Yeah, I was trying to debate if we should have a no Skype policy, like talking about Skype in the show. But we recently, just because it is kind of newsworthy-ish, is we recently had the new Skype, the new version of Skype for Linux.
Thrust upon us.
Yeah, the version that like they shipped out to everybody now, Windows, Mac users. We've all gotten the new Electron-based Skype, and
We don't have a choice but to use it because the old Skype doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, and it has totally borked audio on our Ubuntu 16.04 system. Ironically, we finally stabilized on the Ubuntu 16.04 system.
Well, to be fair, it could be on any Linux version. We haven't tested it
Yeah,
yet.
we've only tried it on 16.04. That's true. But I haven't heard anybody else complaining. But what happens is you run Skype for a few minutes.
No, it's an instant
Is it?
problem.
And how would you describe this problem? How would you describe what happens to the audio?
The audio slows down, so like things are pitched down a few octaves.
But
and-
it's also only the highs of the audio. So it's slowed down, but it's like, okay, well, there's two things. The audio that gets recorded and the audio that we hear are two different things, too.
Yeah.
You're talking about the audio that gets recorded.
Correct.
Yeah. So just finish describing that. I'll describe the other audio.
So,
So it slows it down.
yeah, it slows it down. So the audio's down a few octaves, and it's slower, noticeably slower. Like when you put if you're recording on another system, like if you're recording two ends of a Skype conversation, you put them in the timeline. One will be longer than the other. And then there's also the other issue that Chris is going to explain.
So on the sound output from the system that's now running Skype, everything is high pitched. It's slowed a bit and it's high pitched. So it's more chipmunky, kind of screechy, scratchy kind of sounding, and it's all application output after Skype's been loaded. It's fine. I could demonstrate it right now. If I loaded Skype, it would break the audio from the mumble room for everybody. Everybody would sound like their microphones are broken.
Until you reboot.
Yeah. Yep. Can't even just close applications and reopen them. You got to reboot. And then if you open Skype again, you got to reboot again.
And the weird thing is even if since you're recording externally from Skype, like it will, if you have good audio when you start from another application and you open Skype, it will affect that audio as well from the other application.
Yes. Yep. So, I mean, our solution has been don't use Skype. But what happens is every now and then we end up in a situation where one of our remote hosts, it's happened a couple of times recently, is at a client's network, and the client has outbound firewall rules. And when that happens, we're kind of limited.
Yeah.
So most time it's just been Skype. They only allow us to use Skype. They have like, or Slack, another one we're not going to use Slack to record podcasts. So it's like Slack or Skype. So we went with Skype.
Yeah, for example, the user error that just came out on Sunday, we ended up recording that on Mumble because we had the first issue that Chris described, and then we switched to Mumble, but then we opened Skype, and that messed up the recording
You know what?
over Mumble.
I think Inagogo might have it. And I wonder if I could fix it with Puva control. So Inagogo postulates, or perhaps he knows, that Skype is changing the sample rate in Pulse. Well, that seems testable.
Yeah, that's possible.
And that seems like something. I wonder why that would be. But I wonder if we change it back. I wonder if Skype would sit there and fight with us and flip it.
Well,
Or
we also noticed that Skype was changing levels every time we started it.
yeah, that's true. And then after some of this bouncing around, it was just we were just okay. It's not like we want to sit here and waste a lot of time trying to make stupid Skype work. You know, it's not like it's some high priority. But go figure. It's like it's. The purpose of this system is to have multiple avenues of communication. Discord, Mumble, Skype, Hangouts, Jitsi, whatever cockamamie SIP application Noah wants me to use this week. This is our communications rig that we bring in for remote hosts. And so Skype is one of the many applications it's supposed to work with. Now, hopefully Inagogo's right. Hopefully he's onto something and we can fix it. Because I want to keep it 1604. I don't want to have to switch to something like Windows. Which is probably where we might end up. Which would be, nobody would want that. Nobody would want that. All right, Beardsley. Well, so I thought since we don't have Wes, we could lay. You know what we could do is we could lay the groundwork for how we're doing the Gen 2 challenge.
Yeah.
And cover that, and cover the software setup we're doing, and cover what stage install we're starting with and why. And the plan that we're going to have for going forward. So that way it doesn't like monopolize the whole show, but we're still going to get to it. So anyways. We'll do that. We'll do that in place of actually kicking off the challenges. We'll lay the groundwork for the challenge, and then we can just go full force. So let's thank Ting for sponsoring this here show. Go to linux.ting.com. Linux.ting.com. You've heard that word before, Linux. You want to put that in your browser, because then when people start typing L, they get Linux sites and not, other things that could start with an L. Linux.ting.com. You go there and you learn more about a better way to do mobile. Average bill, $23, and it's delicious. Like a turkey dinner. Oh! Like a turkey beard over there. You pay for what you use. It's just however much you talk, however many text messages you may or may not send, and however many megabytes you may or may not use. Wi-Fi. And then it's nationwide coverage, no contracts, no other termination fees. It's just $6 for the line, Uncle Sam's cut, and then your usage. With three lines, we're almost always under $35. It's great because all three of us are always on Wi-Fi, and we're always on Telegram or some other VoIP system when we want to make calls. So it just works so great for us. And if you're in a small business, it's kind of like in our setup where you have a few savvy users. It's just such an awesome way to give not just like phone services, but to really keep everybody in contact on the team, because you have, like in our case, you have Telegram and Slack, or whatever apps you guys in your organization might be using, but now everybody is connected all the time. And so Noah and I were just talking about Linux Fest Northwest just before the show started, and that's the time where I go, I'm thinking I might buy a few Ting Sims ahead of time. I don't even know what we'd use them for, but they're $9, and I don't pay a contract. There's no other termination fee. So I just put when the guys get here, we put them in a device and we're good to go. And you can get them on Amazon. They're primable too, which is a great way to give them out for holiday presents as well. That's kind of cool. And then when they want to sign up, just send them to linux.ting.com and they'll get our deal. That's pretty cool. So what's great about that is if they've got a device already, then they could get a $25 service credit and their first month's going to be free. That's a pretty great gift. Linux.ting.com. Linux.ting.com.
Here's my question, Chris. We saved a whole lot of money on Ting. Do you know of any delivery turkey services?
That is a great question. I know places where you can get really good turkey meals, but you got to pick them up. And it's pretty far from here. Turkey delivery. I don't know. What you should do is you should get a grocery store delivery and just get one of their turkeys and just, go that route.
But I want somebody else to make the turkey for me.
Just get the pre-made one and you can microwave it. I mean, nobody's counting.
Microwave turkey.
Inagogo says he was just guessing, by the way, but I think that's a good guess. It's something I might check. And yeah, if you have time to check it yourself, Mr. Gogo, please go for it.
I've done some research, Chris. There apparently is mail order turkey.
Yeah, but it seems like you'd have to get on that like a while ago. Because
maybe
you're like, this is like hours away now. Turkey Day's hours away.
There's probably Amazon next day delivery.
I wonder if you should look into Boston's, see what they offer. You know, they're not too far away. So let's talk about this Gen 2 challenge. Not Turkey Day, although it is funny. Turkey Day is getting on our minds more and more. It's big for my family. This is the one that we really like because we like to eat, to be honest. Anyways, we're going to do the Gen 2 challenge I hope in a way that's fun and also sort of gives you a real taste of what life with Gen 2 would be like. So it's kind of a delicate balance, but because we don't want it to be boring to people who don't give two craps about Gen 2, and at the same time, we want to give its proper due. So we are going to take an approach that I think you guys will like, especially once it's up and rolling. And that is, I'm going to build a VM here for Mr. Wes Payne, and it's running here in the studio. And at the beginning of each show, Wes will fire it up, and he'll begin building the Gen 2 system. As the show goes on, he'll sort of tend to it, keep things rolling, keep it installing. And then when the show's over, we'll pause the virtual machine. You know, we might pause it a few minutes after the show, you know, maybe let a build finish or something. We'll pause the virtual machine and we'll go home. We'll go about our day. And then the next episode will come back, we'll continue the build. Now, the idea here is to demonstrate if you take a few hours a day, or a week, a couple hours a week, how long does it take you to get a running Gen 2 system all the way up to X and then make it usable?
Yeah, we're basically doing a real-time Gen 2 install over a series of.
Yeah, and so we'll sort of just check in on it. It won't be the main topic, but we'll just it'll be part of the show each week for a couple of weeks. We'll just check in on it and give everybody a sense of what that's like. And we were looking at it, and you know, you start with a stage 1 because that'd probably be the most entertaining, and then we could poke the most fun at Gen 2 with a stage 1, right? Look at Gen 2. Look how long it takes. That would be, of course, the most entertaining. But we did some digging around, and it seems like that stage 3 is basically, that's the way the project recommends now, right, Beard? Because when I did this, It was like, go whichever way you want, but stage 3 is like that's the recommended path now, and they make it hard to even do a stage 1 or 2.
Yep.
So the differences in the stages are like how far along the system is. With a stage 1, like you're just doing everything, you're building everything. With a stage 2, the tar balls that you get contain some packages that the stage 1 might have had. They're built from that. And then it's a little bit further along. You have more tools in the chain. Then you have a stage 3, which is, of course, it's everything the stage 1 and stage 2 tarballs have, but it also contains a system set. And Portage includes quick references for this set based on packages that might be in the @system set operator. It has architecture-specific downloads available, so you can get it for like the 64-bit version of an Intel CPU or 32-bit, or you can get it for ARM.
Yeah,
and it's more of a complete system ready to go.
Basically, they use stage 1 to build out stage 3, and stage 2 is basically just stage 1, except they built stage 1 with itself to make sure it could build itself.
Right. So so it really is not stage 1 and 2 combined so much as it's a completely built stage 1.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you partition the disk and lay these things out on the disk, and you just have to then do your partition magic. And look who walks in right now. Hello, Mr. Wes Payne.
I could tell you needed me, gentlemen.
Yeah, did your Gen 2 ears start itching?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I was just telling the folks about our strategy. So I've set you up a virtual machine here.
Oh, look at this.
And I've got you a stage 3 ISO. I decided, hello there. I decided for simplicity's sake just to do VirtualBox for the VM because it's got the easy pause option.
It sure does, yeah.
I just thought that for simplicity's sake, we'll go VirtualBox. Haven't used VirtualBox in a while. And they've got a built-in setting for Gen 2. And so, yeah, we're gonna essentially just, I bet next episode, I think you'll have it booting. And then it's just going to be how long does it take to build from there. And we'll just sort of check in on the project as we go. And you can follow along, too, if you'd like. In fact, I think that'd be a really fun aspect if you want to build a VM and start it up while you listen to the show and see how far you get.
Oh, we can build together.
That's what I was thinking. Wouldn't that be really cool? I mean, it's nerdy, but, I mean, that's what this is all about, right?
That's right, it is. It wouldn't be a virtual lug if we weren't doing things like compiling Gen 2.
And I totally, seriously, if you guys, anybody in the Mumble Room wants to do it along with us as well, you can check in when we're doing our check-in. Or if you're going to do it at home and decide you want to join the Mumble Room, you can go to it's mumble.jupitercolony.com to get like the setup guide and information you need to join our Mumble Room. Mumble.jupitercolony.com. reddit.com. If you want to do it along with us. I do think that could be pretty cool. Well, I'm glad you made it, Wes. How about that Washington traffic?
Oh my, that was some of the worst I've seen in a long time.
Everybody gives credit to New York and Los Angeles for their traffic, but nobody gives proper credit to how awful Washington is. When it just
See, we need to spread this more so people stop moving here.
Yeah, exactly. Because they don't know
It's
about this.
horrible. Don't come.
But you did bring us a beer, huh?
I did.
That is, geez, a winter ale.
It's even called Kitten Mittens.
You know, okay, so I was just about to wrap up the show, but since you're here, I thought we should mention that that everybody, all of you, even if you're not a TechSnap regular, should probably check in on episode 346 because there's some news in there. Some changes are coming to the TechSnap program, and it may be relevant to listeners of this program.
It sure might.
I'll just put it that way.
And also possibly the next episode of User Error.
Oh, right. Yes, because Wes will be joining us for the next episode of User Error. So we'll have details about big secret plans that we've been working on for several months behind the scenes.
Oh, so secret.
So get the news, get the announcement in TechSnap 346, and then, which we have not recorded yet, but we'll have more details in User Error 36, which will probably be out like Saturday or Sunday of this week. So something maybe to listen to over the holiday weekend.
There's always changes happening here at the JB Network.
Well, Wes, it's good to see you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for making it.
Thank you for doing a wonderful show. I was enjoying it listening
were you able to listen live?
while I was trapped.
That's
yes.
good. Did you do the JB Live FM or did you do the YouTube stream? What's your in the car choice?
Normally it's the FM stream. This time it was YouTube because it was just the easy. I told Google and it.
And the nice thing is
brought
you
it for
lock
me.
the screen and it basically converts to an audio stream.
Yeah.
And that's pretty
Hey,
nice
yo.
too. And then you unlock the stream, boom, back to a video.
That's only if you have YouTube Red, though.
Yes, true. Good point.
Well, then otherwise go to jblive.fm.
Yeah.
Then you can listen that way. All right, gentlemen. Thank you, Mumble Room. Thanks, guys. Go check out Mr. Dan there over at the Elementary Project. Of course, they've just got that app center just rocking these days. New apps are landing all the time over there. Go check those out, too. I just saw a new one going by, a new weather app that looks real slick. So
Ooh.
it's good to see you, Dan. Thank you for making it again. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Now, thank you, everybody, for making the Mumble Room. We had a light turnout this week, but we had a great crew. So I really appreciate everybody that did make it. And again, you're welcome to join us, mumble.jupitercolony.com. If you have story suggestions or show, like episode-specific feedback, the subreddit's great for that. Go to linuxunplugged.reddit.com, and you can send your emails. Go to jupiterbroadcasting.com/contact and choose Unplugged from the drop-down. Go get more beard at rect.net. Hey! God, that's a good one.
So good. How did he get that?
And you're at West Payne.
That's right, I am.
You got your name on there. That's pretty good, too.
Clear, simple, easy.
Pretty good. I'm at Chris LAS. The network is at Jupiter Signal. And I feel like I probably should mention this from time to time. We also have a Telegram group, jupiterbroadcasting.com/telegram, where you can join in some of the shenanigans there. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Unplugged program. Go grab our RSS feed. That way you can see us next week, because otherwise, we're going to miss you. Goodbye!
Get it out of here.
Well, Wes, I think obviously you should title the episode. I mean, that seems like the way. No, I mean, I don't know. Anybody got some suggestions? We need to title this monster. Let's get a name. Let's get a name for this thing. Let's not make it awful this time.
Not like last week.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Woo!
What happened?
Woo! I tell you what.
I'm going to suggest clickbait. Wes
panning for Gen 2 test scam,
10
experiments.
simple tricks to audit your Linux system.
We could get really good at this.
We
We should
really
just
could.
do like a whole rash of those. What about? Are you getting that impressive emoji support, or are you using the? I'm using the web browser for that impressive emoji support. Yes, I'm using the Discord app in the web browser. No escape from Google. That's kind of good. That's kind of good.
That is pretty good,
Architect.
actually. Architect kills it with those titles sometimes.
Dude,
let
he's
me
a
just
ninja.
say.
He
Yeah.
comes in there and he's like, boom, right in the nuts. And by nuts, I mean bang suggest.
What
title.
about B-caching your file system?
Well, I don't want to dog on the B cache because I loves it. I got nothing but love.
Yeah, I saw some good replies to people being snarky about that in some comments elsewhere, and like pointing people to like, well, here's the code. Can you spot the problem with it? And then like the one line patch that actually fixed it. Still a shame though.
What about Android : location aware?
I don't know. I don't think that's better than Notescape from Google.
True.
So you mean we peaked at the top of the show then, huh? Is that what that means? I thought the Linux stuff was pretty neat. I mean, I thought that was neat.
No, you're right. You're right.
I think sometimes I Google out on the security stuff more than people care. That might be what's up. That might be true. But to me, it's just so handy. It's so handy to be able to check your box and just get even if it's not a totally comprehensive, it's more than you were probably looking at.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's fun to play around with that stuff and compare your different distributions. Like, you install it in one distro and then you install in the other distro, and you can see how they're kind of set up out of the box differently.
Maybe we can bring that back around on this here Gentoo business.
Oh, that would be interesting. Yeah.
We have to have a yin and yang for Architect. He also suggests titles like Google way up your butt.
Oh, God. We're not doing that one.
You just gotta you gotta flex your title muscles, play around before you really get on a good groove of suggestions. We've all been there.
No Escape from Google's going up the charts. I think we go with that one.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Update Your Minix is also very funny. I like that as well. I think that's cheeky. That's what that is. But I think you can't beat No Escape from Google because that location store. Did you hear that? Were you able to listen to the location thing about?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a thing, man. I don't like that kind of stuff. It's got to be Play Services, right?
You would think so, yeah.
Don't you think?
I would assume.
Omnipresent Google's also pretty good, Veritunda. Google follows you everywhere.
They must have so much data to comb through.
Under Google's thumb.
Well, that's what the machines are good for.
Mm-hmm.
Machines take care
And
of
they
it.
have a lot of machines.
They do. Well, they do. Well, everybody, we're all done here. TechSnap's already recorded for this week, so we don't have a TechSnap to throw to. Mm-hmm. Right? That's a Truthium.
That
right?
is true.
That is a Truthium as far as I'm aware.
Yep. Go watch it. 346.
Damn. There you have it. So, Mumble, thank you guys for being here.
Glad to be here.
Appreciate you. Glad you could make it. And you know what they say. What did we decide? What did we decide it was going to be? Instead of spay and neuter your pets, it was
Install FreeBSD.
No, we had a new one. What was the other thing? Instead of spay and neuter your pets, what was it? We had a new one. It was good.
Yeah, what was it? Boy.
Come on, guys.
Now I'm completely blanking.
I can't remember everything. I can't. We had a new.
You were bragging about your memory earlier.
We had a new slang. It was instead of go spay and neuter your pets. Shit. Anyways.
Pac-Man SYU.
All right. Well, fuck you guys. Talk to you later.
Go install Gentoo.
All right. Thank you, IRC. Thank you, Discord, for being here. We appreciate you very much as well. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Now we got a big Unfiltered tomorrow.
Oh, boy. I can only imagine.
Probably some BSD shenanigans. And then later on in the week, we got a double Ask Noah coming out.
Really?
And User Air still. So lots of still stuff in the pipeline. Thank you for being here. Have a great rest of your week. Say goodbye, guys.
Goodbye.